Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. Today's album review is on Ride's 1990 album, Nowhere. When I was starting to review the album, I figured I'd go with the original, the first version I heard of the album, which was the CD version, the American version, which added three extra tracks on it. Taste, Here and Now, and then the title track, Nowhere. So we're going to review that album today. I'll kind of go over the songs and then kind of review the overview and rate the album. I think this is maybe a 2012 reissue, mixed by Holland Mulder. Really like the artwork of that. Really cool picture. So yeah, I think this is a conflicting album for me. I know it's considered a shoegaze classic, and I really do like the album. But I am thinking of the opportunities of the album more so than, when I'm rating the album. This album, I first heard the song Vapor Trail was probably in not long after this album came out, and it was always one of my most favorite shoegaze songs of all time, and I still love it. Every time I hear it, I'm just blown away by the song, how perfect it is, and it's kind of like the quintessential indie pop shoegaze. Maybe I wouldn't even say it's dream pop, but it's just like the quintessential shoegaze song. I think if I had to narrow down like what's the ultimate shoegaze sound, you could say it's Cocteau Twins, you could say it's Slow Dive, you could say it's Ride, you could say it's My Bloody Valentine. Like those, for me, those are the top four. Not as far as my favorite, just as far as like the quintessential sound that I feel like shoegaze is. I think, Cocteau Twins is probably the leader in that, as far as, because I think of Ride as a little bit more up tempo. Bloody Valentine is a little bit more up tempo. Slow Dive is a good mixture of both, but I still feel like they're a little bit probably closer to Cocteau Twins. But I think Cocteau Twins is overall, when I think of their songs, the most shoegaze consistent. Of their sound, not the songs or anything like that, just the actual sound throughout their career. It seems like the most shoegaze sound. But having said that, they aren't necessarily, Cocteau Twins isn't necessarily a band, right? So yes, they got a couple members, but it's not really like, there's not really like a drummer. You know what I mean? It's not like a bass player. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily a shoegaze band, right? So then you could say it's either Ride, Slow Dive, or My Bloody Valentine. Any of those four, I don't think anybody would argue that that's a great example of shoegaze, in general. When I think of Ride and this particular albums, I think of, first of all, I think of Vapor Trail, of course. I think of my other favorite song is number 3, is In a Different Place, which is prime shoegaze sound to me. Is like maybe even more so perfect than Vapor Trail. Even though I like Vapor Trail better, In a Different Place is it's kind of like the ideal sound, you could say, for even more so for shoegaze. Now the rest of the album is kind of, I think, is good, but not quite on the height of those two songs. If you think of the original track list of 8 tracks, the album version, or maybe that was the UK release or vinyl release, the 8 tracks, okay, well, you got 2 amazing tracks out of 8. That's even if the rest of the songs are good, I can see why the album is considered a classic. One of the best shoegaze albums of all time. Like I get the reason why. I think there is a lot of myth around that sort of propels it to being considered the best. There's a couple opportunities I have with Ride. First off, the lead singer, I think he's fairly limited Mark Gardner. I think he's fairly limited when it comes to his range of his voice. The vocals are never bad, but they're kind of limited in some ways. It's kind of breathy and airy in the shoegaze, and that's that's par for the course, I think, and ideal for the sound. But that's about it for his voice. It. I don't think although his voice stands out in Vapor Trail, I don't think there's a lot of songs where his voice really stands out, and you're like, oh, that's you're really listening along to his voice. Sometimes his voice is a little hard to be heard. Some of the words are a little bit hard to understand. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying his voice is horrible. I'm just saying I don't think it's great. And I don't think you really follow his voice as much as you do of maybe some other bands, like Spiritualized or Chameleons, or it's like I think there's some stronger lead singers in shoegaze. I mean, of course, Elizabeth Fraser's on another level, but that's she's a unicorn. The other opportunity with this album is, well, there's three opportunities. That was the first one. The second one, the songs that they added onto the CD, I think two of those are better than most of the other songs on the album besides those two big ones. I think Nowhere and Here and Now are better than most of the other songs on the album besides A Different Place and Vapor Trail. Why didn't they put those songs on the album? Why didn't they put the album title song on the album? Maybe they were done a little bit after it was released, and then they sort of added to them. I don't know that for sure. I would be surprised if they did say, hey, we need more songs for the American version or CD version. Go record again. I doubt they would say that. So I'm assuming they were recorded at the same time. CDs were out in 1990. Why weren't... I get it for the vinyl version, but I think the original CD track list was, if I'm not mistaken, was 8 songs. But the album is sort of 8 songs. I think you could squeeze in 3 5-minute songs and have 3 of the 4 sides, 3 songs. I mean, we're not talking about a high fidelity, it doesn't need to be super high fidelity album. I don't think so. I don't think anybody would have big qualms over having 3 songs on an album. It would still be under, it'd still be in the ideal fidelity range of a record of 13 to 15, 16 minutes. It wouldn't be pushing like 18 to 20 minutes on the side, but I feel like those songs are really good is all I'm saying. And they should have been like on the album, on the main album. That's the second thing. The third thing is some of the songs, again, are just on the main album are just not, they're not, I don't think they're that great. They're not, I would even say that they're very good. I feel like the album is really carried by 2 songs. The rest of them are good. I don't think, I have, when I look at the ratings for Seagull, Seagull goes on a little too long, the opener. A little loud on the guitars. Doesn't really do too much. Pushing 6.5 minutes too. I think it's a poor opener. In fact, I think it's the weakest song on the album. Starts off with the weakest song on the album. 1.25 stars. I have it. Kaleidoscope is definitely much better, more to the point. 2.5 stars. In a Different Place, I love this song. 4 stars. Polar Bear, 2.25 stars. It's a little repetitive. Dreams Burn Down, I feel like I like the melodic parts. There is definitely a lot of potential in this song. I feel like the louder guitar sections kind of hurt it for me. It ends up sounding a little messy, a little, like I get it, like you're trying to do a like melodic and then do an upbeat in the melodic, like I get it, but it becomes a little messy in this one. It's still a better song than a couple of those other ones though. I still have it rated better than Polar Bear and better than Seagull. I have it 2.5 stars. DK is good. I got 2 stars. Paralyzed is good too. It's Paralyzed is kind of a combination of all their styles in this one song, but just don't feel like it takes it to a higher level. And then the original album, Vapor Trail, is perfect. I got an all-time grade, 5 stars, 5 stars all day. The great thing about Vapor Trail, I don't know if you guys have, how many times you've played it, but I've played it like hours upon hours sometimes. And what's great is the opening is so good and the verses are so good. And it only sort of does it once, right? And then the last minute and a half is the melody and the guitar, and then it kind of fades out, right? So it's like it only really does that first part once. So it just makes you want to repeat the song so many times. Like if it went, like the normal flow of verses or opening verses, chorus, you may not want to go back to the beginning and rewind it and play it enough. But the way it is, it just makes you want to keep replaying it all day long. It's just an amazing song. So again, those highs are so high. I don't know if it really. That's the reason why I bought the album 30 some years ago, is because of Vapor Trail. And then I found a different place, really like that one. The other ones really never have really stuck out to me. Now, the bonus songs on there, Taste, track number 9. It's kind of middle of the road. It's 2.5 stars. Here and Now and Nowhere, I both like better than most of the other songs. I have them both 3 stars. So I got those very good. I really like those songs. So yeah, it's a little mixed bag for me. I might be sounding negative. I'm still giving the album a 65 out of 100. I think it's in between good and very good. But I can't say it's a very good album. Especially when you only have 8 songs. Like if you're looking at the original 8 songs, the 11 helps it to get to where it is for me. I think if I didn't have the last 3 songs, I think it'd be closer to probably a 60 out of 100. But considering those, I feel like it helps it out a little bit for sure. And 8 songs is kind of a little short for an album too. I feel like in some ways, but they're all generally 4 to 5 minute songs. There's only one short song in Kaleidoscope. But most of them are like 5-6 minutes. So the album's not short by time, but when you think of like 8 songs for an album, you're kind of like, I can see why they added 3 songs, because it's, hey, we got 80 minutes on a CD and you're barely pushing 40. Let's just put some extra tracks on and make it even better. Like it makes sense. Now, whether it goes together as a cohesive album because you're adding 3 tracks that maybe the band didn't originally intend to be on there, that's another story. But it's kind of a combination. It's a mixed bag for me. It's kind of like those highs are so high that it maybe makes the other songs sound a little low. But when I think of Ride as a band, I just think that they're good. They're a good band, but I think the songs just are kind of don't really get to the next level as consistently as I would hope it to be to put it into a like a classic of the genre. This album, by all who would probably rate albums of shoegaze, would be a top 5 shoegaze album all time, top 10 easily. Like I'm sure everybody who would use my system would probably put it in the 80s and 90s. I wouldn't be surprised if nobody agrees with me. But yeah, I think if there's one thing you can't agree with me on, is that the highs are really high and the middle songs are good, right? Not very good. Good, very good, but they're not great. They're not consistently. I would think for an album to be a classic, you need to have at least 3 songs be great. 4 songs? 5? Should probably be at least 5, right? To make an all-time great classic of the album, of the genre. I would think at least 5, if not maybe even 6 out of 8 songs would be excellent. I think of 2. And so I'm asking you, like, if you disagree with me, like, what songs on the album besides Vapor Trail and in a different place are excellent? I just don't hear it. I think Here and Now and Nowhere are the better of the other 9 songs. Um, but nowhere close to Vapor Trail. Nowhere close to Indifferent Place for me. I'm sure everybody has their one song that is kind of their dark horse on this. Maybe that's in a different place for me. Maybe there's one for you. But is there 3, 4, 5, 6 songs on here? Half the songs? If you're looking at the 11 track list, half the songs excellent. Excuse me. I just don't. I can't do it. I forgot to talk a little bit about the musicianship a little bit. I did talk about the vocalist, but I do really like one thing about the band is it seems like I really like the bass lines, the way he kind of moves through the structure of the song in his own way. He kind of blazes his own trail, and I feel like a lot of the members sort of do that to push the band. Like I feel like nobody really has their set place. Like there'll be times where the drummer is kind of the lead. Sometimes the bass line kind of makes the changes and takes the lead. Sometimes it's the guitar. Sometimes it's the direction of the vocalist. Like I do really like that nothing seems really obvious as far as like the structure of the songs. Like I do feel like different members sort of push the sound of the songs. I like the kind of spontaneous, direction of the band. Like they're all kind of individuals. I can kind of feel like I feel like that in the album. The drums are a little muddy in the low range, which you could say that about Shoegaze recording, but I don't feel like this is really as shoegazy shoegazy as post-punk sounding as like it sounds more recorded like an indie album than really an indie rock album, more so than like like a more narrow post-punk recording. I'm not talking about the band themselves. I'm just talking about the recording. It sounds more like an indie pop recording of 1990 than it would of a post-punk shoegaze band. If it was more of a shoegaze album, I would expect it to be maybe a little bit more grainy, maybe a little bit more hazy. But yeah, it's generally, I think the album is generally a happier album, I feel like. I don't see Ride getting like mad in a song, or even being depressed in a song, which again, it doesn't, not like you have to be gloomy and depressing to be a shoegaze band, but I do feel like there's really there's really more an indie pop band than shoegaze, or really indie rock, But I do love this period of, and I'm really glad I got a chance to do these reviews on these albums that are sort of my outliers, that stuff that I like in my collection but I don't listen to all the time, and I like shoegaze more than I like shoegaze and dream pop more than indie rock. So these is kind of some of my outliers, and that's kind of why I wanted to do a focus. I thought it'd be fun to do a kind of focus week on. Most of them were Brit dance or dance pop or what do they call it, Brit dance, or I think I even heard acid pop was one of the genres, but in general indie rock or indie dance or indie pop, whatever it is. Indie-tronic. God, I hate subgenres, but yeah, it's I sort of generally chose more in the realm of indie pop or indie rock, in this 20 that I picked, and so I really wanted to kind of challenge myself and kind of broaden the spectrum of doing reviews and see if I really wanted to do more in the reviews. And I don't know if I'll really review any more Ride albums. I suppose I will. I'm interested to check out their other albums. I don't know any of their other albums in full. Heard a few songs here and there. I know they just came out with a new album earlier this year. I did get a chance to review that one, and I did listen to that one, but I don't know a lot of the other albums, to be honest with. So I'm not an expert on Ride by any stretch of the imagination. I do know this album well. I do feel like I have a pretty good grasp on it. I'm not perfect on it because I'm not putting in perspective of the rest of their catalog. But I know that people that consider this their, most people consider this their pinnacle, and an amazing debut album. I think it is in some respects, but I don't know if the album is on the level of what a lot of other people would say. Um, yeah, and I think hopefully I'm going to do a recap here shortly of all the 20 albums that I did, and I'm going to actually place them based on the ranking that I gave them, and I think this one will probably be in the middle, and I think I won't be so fully. Well, I might be a little bit surprised. I think going into this that I had a few other records and from other groups that I've already done reviews on in this period that I liked better than this album. I didn't think that was going to be possible, or I didn't really think it that through if it was possible if when I would actually rate them. But I didn't think I thought I'd be pushing this in the 70s at least, especially considering people have an all-time classic. But when I really sat down and listened to it, which has been the first time in a couple of years, granted, so that's again because my when I think of this album, I always go to it because I always play Vapor Trail and in a different place, But then I started thinking, I was like, you're right. I don't necessarily play the whole album all the time. I just kind of play those songs, and sometimes I play those songs for like an hour each. Um, but yeah, that's kind of my view on the album. I still think it's a really good album. Don't get me wrong. It's just I wish there was a few more really strong songs in it to kind of push it higher. Like I really was rooting for it. I really like the sound of the band. Um, I do question if they're really truly shoegaze or not though, because I don't see the staring at the shoes in this album, in this sound. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts. Curious what your thoughts are on Ride's 1990 CD. Nowhere. All right, thanks.